Good morning from Tofino! Today I have rented an e-bike from Tofino Electric Bike Company to explore the Esso Vista Peninsula. But my first stop today is locals' favourite Tofino for a burrito. Morning! Today I'm in Tofino and I'm at the beach. This is Cox Beach, which is about a 30-minute cycle from the small little town of Tofino. I've just cycled up here today on my e-bike and I'm making my way along the coast. My second stop is Cox Beach, which is approximately 9 kilometers from Tofino. Cox Beach is one of the surfers' favourite beaches because you get a decent swell off the Pacific Ocean. I also ate my Tofino burrito here, which is a Vancouver Island staple. Tofino has a paved cycle route from one end of the peninsula to the other in Ucluelet, so it is very easy to cycle here. Some of the land here is protected by the Clayout Clayoquot First Nation, so please do be respectful of the do not enter signs. The cycle route does go into their land. It was built in partnership with the nation, so please be respectful and stay on the paved track. So today I rented an e-bike from Electric Bikes Tofino, which is essentially like a man running it out of somebody's garage, which is kind of cool. And then it's about a 12-mile cycle up to Long Beach, where I am now, but I stopped a couple of times on the way. Once I went to Tofino to get a burrito, and then I stopped at another beach on the way up. But all the way along this coastline there are just beaches. And I'm not sure what Canada is like as a whole with the beaches, but it's not really as well known as somewhere like California or Oregon. But the beaches here are really, really beautiful, much like they are in the UK, so that nobody knows about them. One especially is really, really nice. All of them are very similar all the way along the coast, so you've got forest all around, and then the beach, and obviously the sea, and it kind of runs down like a peninsula. Hi Matt, this is Long Beach and I've cycled here today and it's about 12 miles and I got to cycle back 12 miles. But we're going to stop at a couple of other beaches on the way back. So I'm expecting to stop at Mackenzie Beach and Chesterman's Beach, I think it's called, on the way back. Hi, from Tofino. It is quite a small town and there aren't any actual beaches in Tofino as such. There's a little town on the edge of the peninsula where like all the hotels and shops and restaurants are. But if you don't have a car, which I don't because I came here by bus, it's kind of a little bit tricky to get around anywhere. They've introduced in the summer months a free shuttle bus that runs like every hour, 2 hours. I missed it yesterday as I had to go on a tour in the evening, so the timings just didn't quite work out. So today I just decided that I'd be on my own schedule and rent a bike. And the e-bikes are good because there's tiny bits of hills up in the First Nations reservation which you go through. There's a cycle path all the way up here. You only have to cycle about 100 metres on the road, I guess, and the rest of it is all bike paths. and most of the bike paths are kind of like segregated with the main roads, so you don't feel like you're going to get run over, and it all feels kind of safe. The bike path runs all the way along to Ucluelet. I think it's about 75 kilometers of bike paths, which is pretty cool. I'm only going to cycle about 22 miles, which is enough for me. But if you wanted to do the trail to Ucluelet from Tofino, then you obviously could, but it would just maybe take you a while, and you might want to stay overnight and not do 140 kilometers in a day, but up to you. The colourful 1960s vibe Z Hotel is also here, which is a lot of fun. My last stop was at Mackenzie Beach, though I think this might recently have been renamed Tinwoods Beach after the Clayoquot First Nations resort, which is here. There are loads of campsites along all the beaches, so you could also just stay at a campsite and then walk to the beaches, and then you could just get the shuttle into the town for dinner if you didn't have a car. I actually think it's probably better to have a car, because then you've got the freedom to go around a bit and do whatever you want to do. I just didn't want to rent one. I rented one last time I was on Vancouver Island, and I found that I tried as hard as I could not to use it, because I don't really like driving in Canada because it's the wrong side of the road, and so I'm just kind of quite happy to bum around on my e-bike. The e-bike is pretty quick and it's just like a lot of fun. If you haven't ridden an e-bike yet, then I recommend doing it because it's just really, really fun. I think Tofino and the Clayoquot Sound is one of the most beautiful places in Canada. One of my favourite things to do there was just to walk down to the boardwalk behind my hotel and just take in the view. I would watch boats come in or the seaplanes take off, and it's a much simpler, more sustainable way of life. I felt really enriched to have visited this region. I stayed at the Mac Hotel. I got pizza for dinner from Adriana's sandwich shop, which was amazing. So amazing, I went there 3 times during my stay. Goodbye from Tofino.